Today we are book shopping at Mall of America. This is my first time in Minnesota and my first time at Mall of America, and so I've been saving up gift cards for Barnes & Noble, and they have one downstairs, and I have $250 worth of gift cards to do a massive Barnes & Noble book haul. But before I do that, I really want to ride one of these rides and check out the amusement park. So we're gonna do that, grab some lunch, do a little shopping, and then go in for the book haul. I made it to the very top of Mall of America, and I've been pretty busy. So I got my shopping done, I went down to the theme park and checked it out, and even decided to ride a ride. So I'm wearing my SpongeBob Imagination sweatshirt, and I thought it would be perfect to do the SpongeBob ride. So I did the SpongeBob roller coaster, because you can do single rides, just to say that I've rode a roller coaster inside of Mall of America. Checked that off my bucket list, and then grabbed some conveyor belt sushi, which is a place I've wanted to try before. My husband is not a fan of sushi, so I was like, I'll do this while he's in meetings today. And I even checked out the Lego store. If you haven't checked out the Lego store and you like Legos and you like books, there are a ton of bookish options right now. So they actually have a bunch of Harry Potter different sets, which they always do, but they are constantly switching them out. So they had a bunch of those on display. They also have the new Lord of the Rings set. So the Shire was on display, as well as the Eye of Sauron. These sets are super intricate and fantastic. The Eye of Sauron is just spectacular to see in person. They also had the Cullen house, which I appreciated the Jacob werewolf on top of the house. It took me a minute to find Bella and Edward, but they were climbing the tree. Imagine that, hang on, spider monkey. So now that I've done all of that, it's time to go back down to the first floor to do what I came here to do, which is to go to Barnes & Noble and buy some books. And there she is, Barnes & Noble. Let's go inside and go get us some books. First things first, we're gonna need a basket for the haul we're about to have. We have the Fourth Wing table here. They have a couple of pens, actually only one pen. They have scale, and then they do have the Fourth Wing with the special edges. And I haven't seen this before, this bag with the different names of the books that appear within the Empyrean series. Oh my gosh, you guys, they actually have a ladder. Look at that, it's beautiful. Unfortunately, it's for employee use only, but I do understand that's probably not something you should allow everybody to use. So I'm not seeing too much in the bookseller favorites except the Lost Apothecary. It's buy one, get one 50% off. I don't want the paperback. If I do get a copy of this, I'm gonna do the special edition, which I don't know that I need. So we're gonna set that there. We also have the Hunger Games table. Tons of copies of Sunrise on the Reaping, which I already have read and have my copy, but this book is super good if you're a fan of the series. If you didn't like Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, don't worry, Sunrise on the Reaping is definitely better. So the first book going in my basket is the new Abby Jimenez release, Say You'll Remember Me. So this is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. What I love about this is that this edition has the pretty end pages here, and I believe a bonus chapter, which you can never beat that. So we're gonna add one of these to my basket. And just as a quick note, Abby Jimenez is actually from the Twin City area, and so I'm going to be going to Nadia's Cakes to read this book in a future vlog, so make sure you're subscribed to check that out. Because this is a recent release, when I'm there, there's actually special cupcakes that are supposed to be there in honor of this book. Okay, the next new release that's getting put in my basket is The Sirens. This one got its own like fancy little table here. I love it, but this is also a Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, and it's just a really pretty book. I mean, look at those edges. I mean, it looks like the inside of an aquarium. Honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna cover this entire store. This place is massive. Okay, so checking out some of the new and noteworthy here. These are like right up in the front of the store. I did see the special collector's edition of The Lost Apothecary, which I think is just really cool. I just can't bring myself to get it because I know I'm not gonna ever read it again. It would definitely be a book trophy because I got that from the library. So we're gonna leave it for now. but depending on what else we add to our basket, we may come back for that one. So science fiction and fantasy. Dragonfall is one of the books I'm looking for, but I want to get the Barnes & Noble in special edition, so I'm going to keep looking for it. So many options. I have been loving the special edition of A Harvest of Hearts. The end papers here are super cool in the paperback version, but this is one I haven't heard of. Fellowship of Bakers and Magic, a nice floppy paperback with some just solid colored sprayed edges. This looks super cute, maybe like a cozy fantasy, I would assume. And a whole section on books to read in the dark. Looking at the edges here, this one's really cool, but there's another one on this side that has some really cool edges. Let me find it for you here. These are creepy, spooky edges, but I think they're really well done. I love to see that the Tomes and Tea series gets its own spot here, its own little table. So this is the first one, Can't Spell Treason Without Tea, but then the second book is A Pirate's Life for Tea. Third one is Tea with the Altar. I haven't read those two, but the fourth one is coming out this year as well, and that should be the complete series. So if you're looking for something that will be completed soon, this is a cute, cozy romantasy that I absolutely love. It's very light on the romance and heavier on the fantasy, and definitely on the cozy. Now here's another book I'm considering getting, but the thing is I actually don't want it in the Barnes & Noble exclusive. This is Summer in the City by Alex Asher, and there are different end papers and the covers are different for each type, and I actually just like the original book cover the best and the edges the best on those. These ones have little taxies on them. So this is the young adult and romantasy section. This is actually all young adult with the romance is on the other side, but these books all have really cute sprayed edges. The Better Than a Movie I got in sprayed edges when it was the $5 book when you bought something at the cafe. So definitely glad I grabbed it when I did, because now I don't see any of the sprayed edge copies. But one of the books that is definitely on my list is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Wisteria. I have Belladonna and Foxglove, which this one is the second book in the series. Belladonna is the first. This is the third, and so I wanted to get this because if you look, the end papers are gorgeous, but the hardcover is absolutely stunning, and I definitely wanted the hardcover in the special edition. So we're gonna add this to the basket as well. They have so many good books here in the young adult section. Some of the stuff are like flashbacks, like the House of Night series and the Selection, but there's a lot of other newer books that I just haven't seen before in the young adult section where I'm from. I do want to show off the Murtaugh. So I got my husband this edition of Murtaugh. I think it was awesome. This is one of his favorite series. He hasn't actually read Murtaugh yet, but he's read the whole Aragon series, loves it. But the paperback of this is also super cool with the flame edges. Loving that. So now we have the romance aisles. These look like mostly contemporary romance here. We got our dark romance here, our LGBTQ plus section here, and then like the romantasy books here. Okay, I'm adding this one to my basket. This is Beneath the Cursed Stars. I've heard great things about this book, and right now it's 50% off. It was part of the YA book club a few months ago, so I'm excited to check this one out. So adding that to the basket. So this is another one on my maybe list, Tale of the Heart Queen. This is the fourth book in this series. I have the other three, but it's gonna be a while before I read them. So I don't know if I'm gonna pick this up today, but I've heard great things about this series. People are absolutely hooked and then want to binge read, which, I mean, that is quite a hefty book to binge read, but if it's that good, I'll believe it. It's crazy how big of a book this is compared to the first one. It's like twice the size. Here's another good recommendation if you haven't checked out Dreadful yet. This is not romantasy. This is just kind of fantasy. Not kind of fantasy. It is fantasy with a little bit of romance, but that is definitely like not the premise of this book, but it's super fun and I love the edges of this. Once you read the book, it makes a lot more sense, but me and my best friend Buddy read this and really enjoyed it. So I found the exclusive edition of Enchantra. So the difference between this and the other one, I think there's a bonus chapter in this, but also it is got got the blue with the purple, whereas the standard edition is just the purple. That's what I have as the standard edition. This is my current read. I'm really enjoying it. Not as much as I enjoyed Fantasia. I really liked both of them, but this one is a little bit more of a shock and a surprise, and this one seems like it's a little bit more of a stretch, and it took a lot more backstory to get the female main character into this book and into the situation she's in to move the plot forward, but still both very good. This series, highly recommend. Okay, I think I've found my place. So, Language of Dragons, highly recommend. One of my favorite reads of the year. This one is great if you like a little bit more of like a historical fantasy. There's a little bit of romance in here, but it is definitely heavy on the dragon lore, which was why I loved it so much. But be warned, it does end in a cliffhanger, and book 2 is not written yet, but it's supposed to be out in January of 2026. The next one getting added to my basket is Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. So I already bought the first 2 books. Here's the first book in the series, but I need to finish it out. Also, this book is very thick, but we're gonna add her to the basket. We have another maybe book. So this is Sword Heart. I've heard this is really good cozy fantasy, but it does start out with some very dark topics. So check the trigger warnings. I don't know if this is for me because of that, so I'm going to set it back for now. But we may come back to this after we see where we're at. Oh, and there's book 2, Glow of the Everflame. So all 3 books are here. Sanctuary of the Shadow, I liked this book, but there's not a lot of plot. I'll just leave it at that. However, there are pretty sprayed edges. They also didn't go into as much on the circus part. I thought this was going to be very circus heavy, and it really wasn't. I just have to say that this display is awesome. I love it. It's so pretty. This display also contains several of the books that were on my list. So we have Dragonfall. So I'm going to make this a little less pretty. Dragonfall, as well as Emberclaw, which is a duology, were on my list. I love these Barnes & Noble exclusive editions. Like, the edges on these are super cool. And then Firebird was on there. I mean, look at the edges on this. This is fantastic. Such a pretty book. This is another romance fantasy book, and it's got dragons. All of these have dragons. I love dragons, so we're going to check these 3 out too. So I already have this book, but this is a great deal. So if you want to check it out at your Barnes & Noble. The Shadows Between Us was one of my top reads from last year. It is a really, really good book. The female main character is just very confident. She's a very strong female main character. The world building is great. The romance is very good. It's YA, so everything's closed door, but there's a lot of heat and tension in the romance. Loved this read. Also, these edges are just gorgeous. Okay, my basket is overflowing right now. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hardback books. I'm gonna add all of these up and see about how much it's going to cost. So I have a Barnes & Noble membership, which means it's 10% off, but then with taxes, it kind of evens out anyway. So I'm just gonna check based on the cover price and see where we're at. Okay, this stack is going to run me about $209, which means I've got about $41 more that I can spend. So let's go see what else we can find. So I think the next one I'm gonna add is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition of Fearless. This is one that I'm going to read fairly soon. I have Powerful, I have Reckless, I have Powerless. Fearless is the final book in the series, so I think I'm gonna grab it. It's only $21.99, so $22, which gives me just a little bit more, so maybe we'll see if we can find a paperback. I hadn't checked out this side of the new releases. See if there's anything here. I'm currently not seeing anything. So this book right here, The Tale of Heart Queen, is $18.99, which puts me right at the $250 mark. So we're gonna add it to the basket, and that should complete the haul. So barely fits, but we have an entirely full basket full of books. So this is my final stack that I'm taking up to the cash register. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 books here. 9 of them are hardback. We have 1 paperback. Let's see if my math was good and if I actually stayed under $250. If you ever want to get a good workout, just fill your basket up at Barnes & Noble and walk around, because my arms are hurting. Okay, so I'm done at Barnes & Noble. We have bag number 1. We've got bag number 2. But did I keep it under $250. So at a grand total of $245.24, I did a 10-book Barnes & Noble haul here at Mall of America. I did stay under. I told the cashier that that was my goal when we started, and once he put in my Barnes & Noble membership, which brought it down by like $30, I hit under $250 mark. And now I've got $10 in rewards to spend on more books in the future. So thank you for coming along with me on my haul to Barnes & Noble here at Mall of America. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, read a book, join a book club, and add some books to your TBR. Bye!